Good morning, second grade. Happy Thursday. You've almost made it through the whole week. Can you guys believe it? All right, so what I want you guys to do today is we are going to read the second half of the middle. I know that's a little confusing, but you're going to read the second half of the middle. Yesterday you read the first half, and today you're going to read the second half, and tomorrow you're going to read the end. So I hope that makes a little bit more sense. So you're going to read in The Tortoise and the Hare, narrated by the silly but truthful tortoise. And remember, we're looking at the events of the story and how they are the same. Yesterday you looked at how they were different. Today I want you to look how they are the same than the story that we read on Monday. So today you're going to read pages 14 through 17. And remember, if you're using my YouTube video, it's very easy because I tell you, this is where Thursday's reading starts. And then I say, okay, stop here if it's Thursday. So you should be able to figure out what section you're supposed to read, okay? Remember though, pages 14 through 17. Then you're going to complete the assignment, middle part 2. Okay, so again, you're just telling me what happened in the story and then how it was the same as what you read on Monday. And then I want you to finish your iReady reading minutes. Remember, you need 45 minutes total, so go ahead and get your 45 minutes, and then you're done. There's no discussion, no writing assignment for today. Okay, I thought I would give you guys kind of a little break today. All right? Okay, I think you guys can figure that out. If you have any questions, remember, message me on Edsby. Have your parent text me, okay? All right, I'm going to read The Magic Tree House, Thanksgiving on Thursday. We are in Chapter 9. We're almost done. Slowly the feast came to an end, and the guests wiped their plates with the last bits of bread. They wiped their hands and faces with their napkins. Jack and Annie stood up. "We have to go home," Annie said to Priscilla. "Ah, thou must go back to thy own community now," said Priscilla. Annie nodded, and then she kissed Priscilla on the cheek. "Thanks for everything," Annie said. Jack wanted to kiss Priscilla too, but he was too shy. "Thanks, Priscilla," he said. "I thank thee, Jack," she said, and she leaned over and kissed his cheek. Jack felt his face grow red. "Excuse me, sir," Annie said to Governor Bradford, "but we must leave now." "Oh, but we have not yet taught thee how to grow corn," said the little girl Mary, and Squanto stood up. "Come," he said, "I will walk Jack and Annie back to the forest. I will teach them." "Oh, thou dost not have to do that," Jack said quickly. He feared that once they were alone, Squanto would figure out that they'd never met before. But Squanto only smiled, and he waited for them to follow. "Bye, everyone," said Annie, waving. Jack waved too, and all the pilgrims in the Wamapang waved back at them. The skinny dog barked. Squanto led Jack and Annie away from the village towards the autumn woods. As they passed the cornfield, the dried stalks swayed in the breeze, and they made shushing sounds. Squanto stopped walking, and he pointed at the field. "You must plant corn in the spring," he said. "Put the seed in the ground, and when the oak tree bud is as small as a mouse's ear." "Oh, wait, please," said Jack, and he slipped out his notebook and his pencil out of his bag. It was the first time he had a chance to take notes all day, and he wrote, "How to plant corn. Oak tree bud equals mouse ear." Then he looked at Squanto and nodded. "Dig holes and put 2 rotting fish in each hole," said Squanto. "Rotting fish?" said Annie, making a face. "Yes, rotting fish is good food for the soil," said Squanto. "On top of the fish, place 4 corn seeds. Then cover them with dirt." Jack wrote quickly. 2 rotting fish, 4 corn seeds, cover with dirt. "Got it," he said, looking up. "I give you these corn seeds to take home," said Squanto, and he held up a small pouch. "Thanks," said Annie, taking the pouch. "Thanks a lot," said Jack. "Well, goodbye." Jack was eager to get going before Squanto could ask them any questions about the past. "Wait, I have a question for you," said Annie. "Squanto, why did you say you remembered us?" Squanto's dark eyes twinkled. "I did not say I remembered you. I only said I remember." "What did you remember?" asked Annie. "I remembered what it was like to be from a different world," said Squanto. "Long ago, I lived with my people on the shore, but one day men came in ships. They took me to Europe as a slave, and in that new land I was a stranger. I felt different and afraid, and I saw the same fear in your eyes today, so I tried to help you." Annie smiled. "We thank thee," she said. "And now you must always be kind to those who feel different and afraid," said Squanto. "Remember what you felt today." "Indeed," said Jack. Before closing his notebook, he added one last thing. "Be kind to those who feel different and afraid." Squanto bowed. "Good day, Jack and Annie," he said. "Good day," they said. Squanto turned and headed back to the village. The sun was setting. All of Plymouth was lit with a fiery light. "It really was a good day," said Annie. "Yeah, it was," said Jack. Annie sighed. "Ready to go home?" she asked. Indeed, Jack said. They started running through the woods. Their feet crunched through red and yellow leaves. They scrambled up the rope ladder into the treehouse, and from a distance came the sounds of the pilgrims singing a hymn and the Wamaping beating their drums. Annie picked up the Pennsylvania book. She pointed at a picture of Frog Creek woods. I wish I could go home, she said. Goodbye, Priscilla, Jack called. Goodbye, Squanto, said Annie. Goodbye, everyone. The wind started to blow. The wind blew harder. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster, and then everything was still. Absolutely still. We'll read the last chapter next week, okay? Or maybe tomorrow. We'll see. All right. Charlotte's Web. Remember, Wilbur's about to go receive a special award, right? Special announcement, said the loudspeaker in a pompous voice. The management of the fair takes great pleasure in presenting Mr. Homer L. Zuckerman and his famous pig. The truck bearing this extraordinary animal is now approaching the infield. Kindly stand back and give the truck room to proceed. In a few moments, the pig will be unloaded in the special judging ring in front of the grandstand, where a special award will be made. Will the crowd please make way and let the truck pass? Thank you. Wilbur trembled when he heard this speech. He felt happy but dizzy. The truck crept along slowly in the low speed. Crowds of people surrounded it, and Mr. Arbel had to drive very carefully in order not to run over anybody. At last he managed to reach the judge's stand. Avery jumped out, lowered the tailgate. I'm scared to death, whispered Mrs. Zuckerman. Hundreds of people are looking at us. Cheer up, replied Mrs. Arbel. This is fun. Unload your pig, please, said the loudspeaker. All together now, boys, said Mr. Zuckerman. Several men stepped forward in front of the crowd to help lift the crate. Avery was the busiest helper of all. Tuck in your shirt, Avery, cried Mrs. Zuckerman, and tighten your belt. Your pants are coming down. Can't you see I'm busy, said Avery in disgust. Look, cried Fern, pointing. There's Henry. Don't shout, Fern, said her mother, and don't point. Can I please have some money? Asked Fern. Henry invited me to go to the Ferris wheel again, and I don't think he has any money left. He ran out of money. Mrs. Arbel opened her handbag. Here, she said. Here is 40 cents. Now don't get lost and be back at our regular meeting place at the pig pen very soon. Fern raced off, ducking and dodging through the crowd in search of Henry. The Zuckerman's pig is now being taken over to the crate, boomed the voice of the loudspeaker. Stand by for an announcement. Templeton crouched under the straw at the bottom of the crate. What a lot of nonsense, muttered the rat. What a lot of fuss about nothing. Over in the pig pen, silent and alone, Charlotte rested. Her front two legs embraced the egg sack. Charlotte could hear everything that was said on the loudspeaker. The words gave her courage. This was her hour of triumph. As Wilbur came out of the crate, the crowd clapped and cheered. Mr. Zuckerman took off his cap and bowed. Larrabee pulled his big handkerchief from his pocket, and he wiped the sweat from the back of his neck. Avery knelt in the dirt by Wilbur's side, busily stroking him and showing him off. Mrs. Zuckerman and Mrs. Arbel stood on the running board of the truck. Ladies and gentlemen, said the loudspeaker, we now present Mr. Homer L. Zuckerman, Distinguished Pig. The fame of this unique animal has spread over the far corners of the earth, attracting many valuable tourists in our great state. Many of you will recall that the never-to-be-forgotten day last summer when the writing appeared mysteriously in the pig web in Mr. Zuckerman's barn, calling the attention of all to the fact that this pig was completely out of the ordinary. This miracle has never been fully explained, although learned, many men have visited the Zuckerman's pig pen to study and observe the phenomenon. In the last analysis, we simply know we're dealing with supernatural forces here, and we should all feel proud and grateful. In the words of the spiderweb, ladies and gentlemen, this is some pig. Wilbur blushed. He stood perfectly still and tried to look his best. This magnificent animal, continued the loudspeaker, is truly terrific. Look at him, ladies and gentlemen. Note the smoothness and whiteness of his coat. Observe the spotless skin, the healthy pig glow of his ears and snout. It's the buttermilk, whispered Mrs. Arbel to Mrs. Zuckerman. Note the general radiance of this animal, and then remember the day when the word radiant appeared clearly on the web. When the mysterious writing, not from a spider, we can assure, or spiders are very clever at weaving their webs, but needless to say, spiders cannot write. Oh, they can't, can they? Muttered Charlotte to herself. Ladies and gentlemen, continued the loudspeaker, I must not take any more of your valuable time. On behalf of the governors of the fair, we have the honor of awarding a special prize of $25 to Mr. Zuckerman, together with a handsome bronze medal suitable and engraved in token of our appreciation for the part played by this pig, this radiant, this terrific, this humble pig. and attracting so many visitors to our great county fair. Wilbur had been feeling dizzier and dizzier, though this long complimentary speech. When he heard the crowd begin to cheer and clap, he suddenly fainted away. His legs collapsed, his mind went blank, and he fell on the ground, unconscious. "What's wrong?" asked the loudspeaker. "What's going on, Zuckerman? What's the trouble with your pig?" Avery was kneeling by Wilbur, stroking his head. Mr. Zuckerman was dancing about, fanning him with his cap. "He's all right. He gets these spells. He's modest, and he can't stand praise." "Well, we can't have a prize to a dead pig," said the loudspeaker. "It's never been done." "He isn't dead," hollered Zuckerman. "He's fainted. He gets embarrassed easily. Run for some water, Lurvy." Lurvy sprang from the judge's ring and disappeared, and Templeton poked his head out from the straw, and he noticed the end of Wilbur's tail was within reach. Templeton grinned. "I'll tend to this," he chuckled. He took Wilbur's tail in his mouth and bit it, just as hard as he could bite. The pain relieved Wilbur, and in a flash he was back on his feet. "Ouch!" he screamed. "Hooray!" yelled the crowd. "He's up! The pig's up! Good work, Zuckerman! That is some pig!" Everyone was delighted. Mr. Zuckerman was the most pleased of all. He sighed relief. Nobody had seen Templeton. The rat had done his work well, and now one of the judges climbed into the ring with the prizes. He handed Zuckerman 2 $10 bills and 1 $5 bill, and then he tied the medal around Wilbur's neck, and he shook hands with Mr. Zuckerman while Wilbur blushed. Avery put out his hand and shook the judge's hand, too. The crowd cheered, and a photographer took Wilbur's picture. A great feeling of happiness swept over the Zuckermans and the Arbles. This was the greatest moment in Mr. Zuckerman's life. It is deeply satisfying to win a prize in front of a lot of people. As Wilbur was being shoved back into the crate, Lurvy came charging through the crowd, carrying a pail of water. His eyes had looked wild. Without hesitating a second, he dashed the water at Wilbur. In his excitement, he missed his aim, and the water splashed all over Mr. Zuckerman and Avery. They got soaking wet. "For goodness sake," bellowed Mr. Zuckerman, who was really drenched. "What ails you, Lurvy? Can't you see the pig's all right?" "You asked for water," said Lurvy meekly. "I didn't ask for a shower bath," said Mr. Zuckerman, and the crowd roared with laughter. Finally, Mr. Zuckerman had to laugh too, and of course Avery was tickled to find himself so wet. He immediately started acting like a clown, and he pretended he was taking a shower bath. He made faces and danced around and rubbed imaginary soap under his armpits, and then he dried himself with an imaginary towel. "Avery, stop it," cried his mother. "Stop showing off." But the crowd loved it. Avery heard nothing but an applause. He liked being a clown in the ring with everybody watching in front of the grandstand. When he discovered that there was a little water left in the bottom of the pail, he raised the pail high in the air and dumped water all over himself and made faces. The children in the grandstand screamed with appreciation. At last, things calmed down. Wilbur was loaded into the truck. Avery was led from the ring by his mother and placed onto the seat of the truck to dry off. The truck, driven by Mr. Arbles, crawled slowly back into the pig pen. Avery's wet trousers made a big wet spot on the seat. All right. That is that chapter. So they got an award, and of course, Wilbur could not handle it, so he had to faint. That silly pig. All right, guys, I hope everyone has a wonderful Thursday, and I will see you all back here tomorrow for our Friday video. Okay, bye.